Yo, what's going on, guys? Cody here. Just with another idea that can maybe make you some money. That's going to be the whole point of this channel. And for this particular thing, it's going to be a stock investment. So I'm kind of looking out in the next 12 months for upside. And the way I'm playing it particularly is through the options. And I'll kind of get more into that later on. But I kind of want to talk about why I think the stock's going to have a nice run up. And the stock that I'm talking about is eBay, like eBay.com, the big e-commerce giant, ticker symbol EBAY. Pretty straightforward. Stock right now is at $66 a share, and I think the stock will be north of $90 a share within the next 12 months or so. But if it stays on the same trajectory that it's been on, it could happen much quicker than that, really in a couple of months. But I'm kind of looking at it as a 1 year target, and so I'm looking for a 40 to 50% return on the stock itself, but I'm looking for a much bigger return in the option. But I'll talk about the option, but let's talk about the stock, why I think it's going to go up. Number one, the major catalyst for it, as I do with any stock investment I ever have, I have to have some type of big catalyst that I think not enough people are on board with, and I think that will drive the price higher, and that's this big collector's boom that I foresee. I think that the collector's market's been super hot over the last year. It was honestly even pretty hot in 2019. So a lot of people think it started in 2020, but a lot of the numbers were actually rising pretty rapidly throughout 2019. There's this nostalgia cycle factor, I think, playing into a role where people are kind of going into the collectibles market, but they're also understanding that there's a much deeper market to the collectibles game. There's much more price data and liquid buys and sells, bids and offers in that space. So I think the more people understand that the mechanics of that market's playing a good role, the more money is going to flow into it. People are going to collect a lot of things, and eBay is by far the leader in that category by far. Way more than Amazon, way more than Walmart or Target or Etsy or anything like that. eBay almost has a niche in the collectibles market because they have a much bigger range of product at much variable prices, things like that, and it almost just has a different track record for the collectible type market. So I think a lot of money will pour into eBay basically because of all the fees that they charge on the buying and selling of this stuff, and I think they're going to be a huge beneficiary of the collector's boom, and I think that's going to be the number one catalyst that boosts the stock. I think that's why the stock has already made such a giant run up throughout the year, and I only think that this is just going to continue to get bigger. It could have a little bit more ebbs and flows, of course, more back and fill, things like that, but there's also a chance that it really breaks out, like starting now, like it really starts to rise to the upside in a pretty fast fashion. So I'm kind of looking at that, but so the collector's boom is the one thing, and then not only that, you got the chart. The chart is for a lot of people that like technicals and all that, we're kind of oscillating in this range, creating a lot of tension, what people would call as a bull flag. You got this flag type formation, ascending wedge type formation, as some people want to call it. Um, we're kind of breaking out of that, and then we can kind of zoom out on a longer term chart. As you can see, earlier in the year we had this giant run up. We've been consolidating for a while, and I think we're going to have another push up towards that 90 range, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think that the chart technically looks very, very nice, and and I think that adds to the fire of this collector's boom, and I think that the chart looks this way because of the anticipation of that. And like I said, I think that the collector's market will actually increase by like 10x, as far as the volume goes in that space, as people start to understand, there's a actual structured market behind this stuff, and I think that will boost it up even more. Another thing is eBay is already a value stock as it is. It's a cheap stock, so you can get a lot of the valuation guys in there. The stock's worth 45 billion, and they produced about 750 in cash flow, free cash flow just in the first quarter. Um, so it's just one of those things where it's almost like a perfect storm of three different things combining to propel this thing a lot higher to the upside. And that's the way I'm looking at it. And the way that I'm particularly playing this is actually through the options. If you don't understand the basics of options, all that, I actually have a video on that if you want to check it out, or check out any other YouTubers, basis of what calls and puts are and all that stuff. But I bought the January 2023, so my expiration's in January of 2023. So it's about 18 months out. So I have 18 months for the trade to play out. I bought the 60 strike call, and I actually paid 900 for that because I got in around like 61 on this. Just haven't really made a video on it until now. But right now, an option runs for about $1,220. So you pay $1,200 for the option to buy at 60. To buy 100 shares at 60 bucks. And if that stock goes to 90, that contract will be worth 3,000. So it will be up almost, almost a plus 200% gain, rather than the stock being up 40 to 50%. You're gonna make, 4 to 5 times the amount through the option and have limited downside risk. Your downside risk is 12 bucks a share. So if you bought 100 shares at eBay and it went down to 40 bucks, you're gonna lose 2,600. If that option that you have, it drops down to here, the maximum you can lose is that $1,200 that you put in, and then you can have an $1,800 upside on the top. Because if you bought 100 shares at 66 and we went to 90, you're gonna make 2,500 or so. But the option is basically gonna almost do that much anyway with much lower risk. So I think that the risk reward of that's much better. So I'm looking at it to make a 200% return or so over the next 1 year. And like I said, I have 18 months for the trade to play out, and that's the way that I'm doing it. Definitely look into it. I think eBay is going to be a really good stock. And not only that, there's this whole new thing where a lot of the boring stocks are actually kind of becoming exciting again. And what I think is going to happen with eBay is, as the profit numbers rise from the collectibles and things like that, it's going to be re-rated by Wall Street into a almost more, instead of this boring, stagnant, dead stock, dead tech stock, it's going to be more of a type of growth stock. It's going to be re-rated in that type of fashion, and as it rips towards $90, eBay will have a totally different vibe around the stock. And I think it'll be re-rated a lot at 90 and even push towards into the hundreds. That's the way that I'm looking at it. I would definitely take off a lot of risk around 85, 90 or so, and but continue to hold some for that continued push higher, because I think at this point it's going to get re-rated, and as it's ripping even higher into those stages, that's when you want to sell. That's when you want to sell it. You want to be into investments before everyone knows about every little thing about it. Because right now I think a lot of people have anticipated as a move that we've seen, but I think that we're going to see another run up into this whole nother cycle, a whole nother wave of optimism in the collector space. I think will propel it higher. You have a lot of big money after these collectibles. You're hearing things like Toys R Us coming back. You're hearing things like, uh, um, I forgot what his name is, the Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, is like one of the greatest Wall Street traders there ever is. Investor, all that. Billionaire, multi-billionaire, and all that. And he took, the trading universe or collector's universe private, for $700 million, and that stock in the beginning of 2020, that stock was at a market cap of 200 million, and the shares tripled throughout that year, and it valued at about 700 million, and he still paid up for that to take that company private. So that's a big sign into that space. That happened last December. They mostly do sports cards, things like that, and and I think that those numbers are going to get much bigger. You're hearing about eBay, being, that the active buyers of trading cards have more than doubled just in the last quarter. The sneaker guys have more than tripled just in the last year. Luxury watches, things like that, all sorts of collectibles I think are booming right now, and that's only going to continue. The market's going to get bigger, and that's going to be a huge benefit for eBay. It's going to be re-rated by Wall Street, and then I think that the stock's going to, honestly continue to go on the trajectory that it's on and kind of keep, booming, because I think it could make a pretty nice run up. But like I said, I got an 18-month time horizon for this trade to play out. I know exactly what I'm going to risk. I know exactly what I can lose. That's why I definitely recommend playing it by those options. Definitely educate yourself on options if you don't know about them. Sometimes they're a much better risk reward than risking everything into the equity, and you don't have to put up as much money. But then again, you don't want to over lever, and there's things with options to where you can over lever yourself, and that's kind of what makes them dangerous. But if you play them smart and strategic and all that, they can be very lucrative and very smart ways to invest over the equity itself. And so I want to leave it with that point. But eBay, has 190 million monthly active users, and that number has exponentially increased over the last year, mainly because a lot of the collector stuff. And Amazon only has 3 times more than that. Amazon has about 600 million monthly active users, so it's only 3x more. Amazon's worth 2 trillion, eBay's worth 45 billion. eBay's worth a tiny fraction of it. I get it. Amazon's more of a logistic company as well as the e-commerce and all that. They're trying to dominate supply chain and things like that, so that's kind of why it has a giant premium, but it's such a big one compared to them. eBay had 6 times the monthly active users as Etsy did, and Etsy's worth 22 billion and eBay's worth 45. Etsy's worth half, yet eBay does 6x monthly. It might even be 8x. Don't have the sheet numbers with me right here. They have twice as many monthly active users as Walmart.com, and these were 2019 or early 2020 numbers, and I think that eBay is only exponentially increased from there, and I think more people are going to use it. The more people that use it, the more favorable it is, the more it's on people's radars, things like that. And yeah, I mean this is the one I think. Like I said, the way I look at it, kind of like a 12-month target to $90 a share. But I think it could even hit 90 in the next two to 3 months. Honestly, I mean if it keeps ripping at this scale that it is, even like today, we had. It's not updating today's candle, but even today, we had a decent sized red day in the market, and eBay closed up a little bit in the green. It's showing high relative strength versus the market. A lot of the dips have seemingly getting bought up, yeah, and I think that trend's only going to continue because I think there's their wave coming. I'm trying to think if I left anything out. I can talk about more different things, but like I said, mainly the collector's boom. Technically the chart looks amazing, and it's already a good value as it is. So the valuation can easily double or triple from here, and and it's still a decent value, especially if it gets re-rated as a form of growth by Wall Street, which is exactly what I think is going to happen, and I think that's why you'll see a $90 stock. And yeah, and like I always say, do your own research, all that type of stuff. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into before you buy into it. Make sure it's something that you want to do. Don't just take my advice with a grain of sand. Make sure that you're backing this as well. But I really think that this one could be a really good one. And yeah, so just be on the lookout for eBay.com. And also, if you enjoy this type of content, I'm going to have a lot more videos like this. Just different ways that I think they're making money. I've talked about cryptocurrency like Basic Attention Token, which went from 25 cents, like $1.70 or so, went up 7x or 7-8x. I was looking for a 10x, went up 7-8x, still high. And I talk about risk management, where I would buy and sell, do things like that. I do stock trading things. I've talked about trading cards, why I think those are a good investment. Kind of ties into this whole eBay theme. And yeah, so if you like this type of content, I'm definitely gonna push out more. But I like to have a high conviction on something before I say it on the internet, I like to really make sure that it's something that I feel really strongly about before I just release it, to anybody else, because I would hate for people to lose money on this. I want people to make money, and that's going to be the whole point of this channel, really. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm not very good at editing things and all that, so I can't really like throw in other things and feel like I'm forgetting something. But I'm just gonna wrap it up here. But I appreciate you guys. Love you guys, especially if you watched this far. And peace out, guys.